Hello. If we can all take a seat, we'll start the public comment portion of the hearing. Let's go on the record. Good evening. It's October 18, 2022, and it is approximately 7:05 p.m., and we are at the Greg Kleiss Community Center in Kansas City, Missouri. The question and answer portion of the public hearing just ended, and if you had questions about this race case, I hope you were able to get answers to those. If you have a cell phone at this time, I'd ask that you put it on vibrate or silent. Now, the Missouri Public Service Commission has set aside this time for a local public hearing in file number GR 2022-0179, a general rate case, which is captioned as, in the matter of Spire, Missouri, Inc., doing business as Spire's request for authority to implement a general rate increase for natural gas service provided in the company's Missouri service areas. My name is John Clark, and I'm the regulatory law judge overseeing this hearing tonight. Now, the Missouri Public Service Commission regulates the rates charged by investor-owned utilities companies in Missouri to ensure that those rates are just and reasonable. The Commission also regulates the quality of service and the safety of operations of investor-owned utilities. The Commission is made up of 5 commissioners: Chairman Ryan Silvey and Commissioners Scott Roop, Maida Coleman, Jason Holzman, and Glenn Kolkmeyer. The commissioners are appointed by the governor to a fixed terms and confirmed by the Senate. The commissioners employ a staff of engineers, accountants, attorneys, financial analysts, and other specialists in the field of utility regulation. Now, with me here tonight in person are Commissioners Jason Holzman and Commissioner Glenn Kolkmeyer, and participating via the web at this point, via WebEx, is Commissioner Roop. Would either of the commissioners like to make an opening statement?
Sure. Thank you, Judge. Good evening. My name is Commissioner Jason Holzman. I just wanted to thank you guys for coming out tonight. There are many things you could have been doing on a Tuesday evening other than being here, but you chose to be here to share your opinions with us. We do value them. They do matter. We do listen. And thank you very much for taking this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Holzman. Now, a court reporter is transcribing this hearing so that the other commissioners may review and read the comments that are made tonight. Now, I'm going to begin, because this is a formal hearing, I'm going to begin by asking counsel to enter their appearance for the record, starting with Spire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Matt Applington for Spire, Missouri, Inc., 700 Market Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63101.
Thank you, Mr. Applington. For the commission staff.
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of commission staff, Kurt Stokes, C-U-R-T-S-T-O-K-E-S, and Scott Stacy, S-C-O-T-T-S-T-A-C-E-Y. We're at 200 Madison Street in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Mr. Stokes, Mr. Stacy, thank you. For the Office of the Public Counsel.
John Kleiser, on behalf of the Office of Public Counsel. My contact information is in the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kleiser. Are there any counsel I haven't called or any interveners present? All right, I see and hear none. Now, for those who would like to provide comments at today's hearing, I'm going to call the names listed on the sign-up sheet in the order they appear. When I call your name, please come down to the microphone at the front. I will then at that point ask you to state and spell your name, because the court reporter, as I indicated, is taking everything down, and that's for the record. Then I will place you under oath, and you may offer the commission your comments. Now, we have a lot of people signed up tonight and a lot of people that are here, and I want to accommodate as many people as want to make comments tonight as possible. So I'm going to ask that you keep your comments as brief as possible. If it starts to get repetitive, I may cut you off and move on to the next person. Also, after you've made your remarks, please remain at the podium for a minute. I may have questions for you. The commissioner may have questions for you. Now, some of the attorneys may also have questions for you. If the attorneys have questions, if you'd please get my attention, I'll let you ask your question. And if the commissioners have questions, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I'm not going to stop and ask after each person whether or not there are commission questions. Now, the commissioners will be unable to answer any of your questions tonight, and that's we were out of the room during the question and answer portion, and that's because we have to remain impartial until after the presentation of evidence at the evidentiary hearing. If you have questions, please speak to representatives of the company, the commission staff, or the Office of the Public Counsel. Also, I'm going to ask that you be polite as people get up here. Treat people as they make their comments, whether you agree or disagree with them, as you would like to be treated. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and call the first witness. And I'm going to apologize. There's a lot of names on this, and there's a good chance that I'm going to butcher quite a few of them. So don't take offense. Just let me know that I've butchered your name, and I will try and correct it. Mary Esselman. Ms. Esselman, would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Mary Esselman, M-A-R-Y-E-S-S-E-L-M-A-N.
And I noticed there's also a Jessica Kibbe signed up from Operation Breakthrough. Are you both?
Just
you
I'm gonna
tonight?
speak.
Okay. I just wanted to know if you both wanted to speak together, if you want to speak separately, or if it's just going to be you. Okay. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes,
And what would you like to tell the commission this evening?
great. So my name is Mary Esselman. I'm the CEO of Operation Breakthrough. We're the largest community-based early learning center in the region. We serve 450 families with children from birth all the way to age 18. Our average income for our families is about $1,000 per month. Many of our families are most vulnerable families in the community. On average, they may be on a housing voucher, which takes a third of their income. For many of the other families, gas becomes a third of the remaining income. As I look at our average income over the past 2 years, 25% of our families have required gas assistance from internal. We've spent about $32,000. Another 25% of the families have required outside assistance that we have referred from local agencies such as Bishop Sullivan, Metro Lutheran, Reconciliation Services, and others. When I look at the amount of income as it's stated in the proposal, that it would only be a 10% increase for families. Many of our families, their average gas bill in the winters, because the homes that they rent are not necessarily energy efficient, is around $350 per month. So if you look at a 12.65 increase, that would generate almost a $44 increase per month, which is a significant burden for many of our vulnerable families in the community. So in my opinion, based on the information that we have, this is not the appropriate time for a rate increase, and it does not appear to be just and reasonable in terms of the costs that are being pushed on to members of the community.
Thank you. I have no questions for you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
And you said Jessica Kibbe is not going to be speaking? Okay. Damian Mueller?
Evening.
Mr. Mueller, would you please state and spell your name for the record?
D-A-M-I-A-N, Mueller, M-U-L-L-E-R.
Is it Mueller?
Correct.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission this evening?
In the interest of time, I'll attempt to be brief as possible. I've just kind of prepared my notes here the best I could. I scanned over the case number GR 2021-0108, which shows processed in March of 2022 this year, and the Spire response also in March 2022, adopting PSC staff recommendations regarding USOC accounting procedures, etc. I also perused the public comment, approximately 10 or so pages worth of the recent public comments to get a general gauge of what everybody else in the room echoes, and it seems that my general assessment is not so far off from what everybody else seemed to indicate. And I also perused general stock analysis over the last several years. Earnings per share and total shareholder return have grown in the past several years during the pandemic. It appears Spire agreed with almost all of PSC recommended changes recently, I just mentioned, and did a diligent job of adopting the changes. Unfortunately, Schedules 5, 6, and 7 were deemed confidential and not available for the public to view, so there may have been some additional.
Hold on just a second.
So there may have been some additional information that may have given extra insight as to why Spire is requesting this rate increase of around 12%. I believe this much of an increase is not necessary and places an undue burden on the large segment of the customer base, including those of us, of course, those of us who try to live within our means, but especially those considered in the 2012 suggested low-income rate class file GW 2013-0046. It's bad enough with all that happened in the last
Can you give me
pandemic
that
years.
case number again,
Pardon?
please? Would you
Sorry?
give me that case number again, please?
Sure. GW-2013-0046. That was when the low-income rate class was considered, and I believe that low-income class has been in existence for quite some time, if I remember correctly. It's bad enough that with all that has happened in the last 2 pandemic years, but now Spire wants to add insult to injury with this increase. It is possible some increase may be required, as of course partly according to your chart that you have, but most likely not this sharp of an increase. As a main point of interest, in reference to as what a company can do to stabilize their positions, I use the example of Ford Motor Company. In 2006, they did a smart thing and actually suspended dividends, not stopped, but suspended dividends on their common stock for at least a year or more in order to keep the company viable. They took no federal bailout money. They weathered the storm and the economic conditions at that time. And continuing that idea of company integrity, I maintain that Spire needs to follow Ford's example and suspend dividends for a year at least, or more, which should provide plenty of money to accomplish any necessary capital transfer costs, reclaim funds not covered by the ISRS charge, and carry out any other required provisions or changes requested by the PSC. Now, if that were the case, then by your chart up there, it appears that the 30 or so percent, if that's returning dividends and such, if the dividends were suspended, maybe that would cover the actual 25% of your other costs that you're trying to get an increase for. If a bastion of American automotive, like Ford, can do that kind of an activity, then there should be no reason why Spire cannot follow that example. I mean, unless there's some regulatory thing that keeps them from doing that kind of a thing, then there should be no reason why Spire cannot do the same example and suspend their dividends. The question is, if the CEO, senior management, and board of directors have the fortitude to do the responsible and right move. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mueller, thank you
Yes.
for your comments.
Thank you.
Nate Morton? Mr. Morton, would you state and spell your name for the record?
Good evening. My name is Nathaniel Morton, Nathielmorton.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
First, I'd like to thank you for your time. My name is Nathaniel. I am a resident of Independence, and I believe that this rate increase is not good for the people, and any effort to continue this process will be in complete and utter defiance of the citizens of the state of Missouri. Many folks, myself included, are already struggling with gas, grocery, and other costs. Companies like Spire must cease squeezing the consumer in order to keep raking in record-breaking profits. This rate increase is, of course, unpopular, as was the last. But Spire once again feels it necessary to disregard the consequences hikes will have on the working class with this proposal of this most recent increase. Such measures are truly disgusting and goes to show us that this monopoly does not value us and will put profit over people time and time again. With that, I urge at this rate to not be passed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Morton. Bob Inmall.
Good evening. My name is Robert Inman, I-N-M-A-N. What else did you say we had to tell you? Oh, sworn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Inman. I'm sorry I
That's
didn't
all right.
say your name correctly. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
Well, everybody's done such a professional presentation. I did make some notes, but mine's a little more folksy, I suppose. I'm a 72-year-old living on a fixed income. I am the treasurer of Hutchin Park Neighborhood Association over in Independence, in Western Independence. And I was, talking with neighbors, and we were all griping about, oh, here goes gas prices up again, and they're taking such a big chunk out of our things, because many of our people over in Western Independence, in the neighborhood I live in, the homes were built in the 30s and 40s, and there are a lot of retired people like myself. There are some families moving in again because the school district changes, but still a lot of retired people. And with property taxes and drug costs and groceries and property and utilities going up, it really becomes hard for them to make some decisions. Sometimes, am I going to get my drugs for, am I going to get my drugs for the month that I need to, my blood pressure meds or whatever I need, or diabetes meds, or am I going to, buy the food I need to keep me healthy, or am I going to pay my utility bills? So it really is a burden on the elderly community whenever great big increases, like the young man said, such a big increase at one time. And it really becomes harder year after year for not only myself but many of my neighbors to budget for this. I wasn't gonna come here and talk. I was just talking to my neighbors, and one of the neighbors said, "Hey, why don't you go and tell them for us what we're all talking about around the neighborhood?" So passing the cost of, I talked in the question and answer about cost of doing business and asked the commission how they figured the cost of doing business, and they talked about Spire talked about their way of doing business was, we don't pay for the gas, they're not charging us for the gas, that's a pass-through, whatever the cost is. What they're charging us for is infrastructure and pipes and buildings and everything like that. And I was a former partner in a business many years ago, and I know when we first opened our business, they said it was going to take 2 years before you made a profit, and it did. That first profit day was great, but what I want to say is we couldn't pass all of our costs. When we had to renovate the space that we moved into, we had to pay utility bills, we had to pay water bills, we had to buy stock and everything. We couldn't pass that all onto our customer. And when costs went up, we had to absorb that. Otherwise, they'd go to our competitors. We don't have a choice to go to competitors with gas services. We only have one gas company to get our heating gas from. So it's not like my customers could have gone to somebody else. So I really think that the regulated, and we talked about winter usage and the ISRS fees, which is, I guess, the pipeline, the costs and everything. and how many of those should be considered as a cost of doing business rather than being passed on to the customers. That they ought to, if they're going to make money off of the gas things and everything being in the ground and everything like that, then their investors shouldn't be making great profits on the backs of poor people. So I urge the commission to require Spire to carry more of the costs of doing business themselves instead of allowing them to pass these costs on to the customers. And I do appreciate your time to be heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Inman, and thank you for your comments. So far, I haven't had any questions, but I am going to remind you, after you've given your comments, if you can stay there for just a second. Sometimes we do have questions, but I don't at this point. Kathy Reinhardt?
Kathy Reinhardt, C-A-T-H-Y, Reinhardt, R-I-N-E-H-A-R-T.
And Ms. Reinhardt, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Correct, yes.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
I'd like to tell you what has happened in Clay County. I used to be the Clay County assessor. In 2014-15, somewhere in through there, Missouri Gas Energy was sold to Laclede. And when Laclede declared their personal property, 40% was taken off on the personal property line. And when we asked them where it went, we never got what I considered, or what my office considered, a reasonable answer. We just didn't get it. So to make a long story short, we started asking questions. We went to court. We went down to Columbia at one point in time and sat in a room and tried to negotiate a settlement. We couldn't come to anything. And in our digging and in our depositions, we found out that Laclede, now Spire, had been declaring almost all of their meters in the Platte 3 school district, which is one of the smallest school districts in Clay County, but also has the smallest levy for the school. And, well, that was very upsetting. So then we asked if we could see their GIS layer, which is Geographic Information Services Systems. And we were told that it would violate national security. We couldn't have it. And we couldn't figure out why we couldn't have it. And then we found out that, and I'm just going to make up an example here. I'm a developer. I have 50 houses that I want to put out in the ground somewhere. I ask Laclede, Spire to come out, and I pay them to put the gas line in. I pay them to put the meters in, and then I turn around and give it back to them. But they don't declare that as an asset. Don't ask me why. It's an asset according to Accounting 101, but they don't declare that. So that was a problem. And then I retired, and this last year, they went to Jefferson City to try to get the law changed to go back retroactive 8 years, because that's how long we've been arguing over this. Clay County has won in the courts. Clay County won at the State Tax Commission, and now it's back to the State Tax Commission to decide what the value should be. What Clay County wanted and what all the other counties wanted was a standard that we could work with Laclede and Spire so that they would pay their fair share on personal property. I just thought this was information you might need to know, might want to know, may not care to know. I just thought it was important. Thank you.
Can you stay up there for just a second, Ms. Reinhardt? I do have a few questions.
Yes, sir.
You said early on 40% taken off at the property line, and I know you're talking about personal property tax, but can you clarify what you mean there, just so I can follow?
For example, the year before, I'm making up numbers here. Please don't quote me on this, because I am going to make up numbers here. So in 2014, $100 million was declared. In 2015, $60 million was declared. And it wasn't in depreciation. So where did the $40 million go?
Okay, I follow you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Go ahead, Mr. Applington.
Just to clarify,
As far as I know, yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
One question.
Judge,
Yes.
if
Who's- who-
Mr. applicant, if he asked a question, I did not hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Bench, I'm going to have Mr. Applington repeat his question.
I'm sorry about that. I asked if the matter was still pending before the State Tax Commission.
As far as I know, yes.
And that was the court reporter, and she did not get everything that was said. And so thank you very much, Ms.
attack
Bench,
right
for
here
stopping
on
me
the
there.
You're not helping.
Not being able to see you, it kind of caught me off guard.
And this is Kurt Stokes for staff. Do you have that case number handy?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's Laclede versus Clay County.
Okay.
I don't think they've ever changed it to Spire.
Thank you.
And it started in 15, 16. It's just ongoing. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate your comments. Jonathan Lotz.
Jonathan Lotz, Jonathanlltz.
And Mr. Lotz, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
Okay, what would you like to tell the commission?
Good evening. My name is Jonathan, and I've been a resident and customer of Independence for the last 16 years. I thank the commission for allowing the public to voice their comments on the proposed rate of roughly 10% by Spire onto its customers. While I like Spire and have experienced firsthand the professionalism of Spire's employees, no additional rate increase are needed onto the millions of dollars Spire already receives from its customers. I would like to urge the PSC to not approve any such increase. The proposed 143 million increases to be collected in rates is one neither Missouri East nor West customers can endure. This proposed rate increase is another instance of inflation being forced onto the community that is not needed. The vague notice Spire customers receive say the proposed rate is primarily driven by infrastructure investment, rate of return, and overhead costs. This translates that Spire and its shareholders want their return on the inflation train and simply want to line their pockets with more money. The people of Missouri are already hurting from paying more on food, fuel, and other goods and services. We don't need a higher gas bill this winter too. Many corporations are currently forcing onto the American public monthly price increases, and this needs to stop. We can help stop the continued rate of inflation if we deny rate increases such as this tonight. Spire and other companies incorrectly think the Missouri public can continue paying more on goods and services as if everyone has extra money lying around. If we don't stop allowing prices to rise, then the prices will continue to just go up and up beyond even their requested 10% increase. In December of 2021, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission approved the continued operation of the Spire STL pipeline. The Spire news release stated this would ensure continued access to affordable energy to St. Louis customers, yet here Spire is asking for more money from customers of Missouri. Further, when Spire took over the Missouri Gas Energy in roughly 2017, we were promised improved service with no additional costs. This rate increase request shows Spire is stepping back on this promise made years ago onto Missouri. If more money is needed for pipeline infrastructure and program development, money should come from perhaps current profits made off Spire customers or a bank note like other companies and individuals do. I ask the commission to keep all this in mind and squish this call for inflated gas bills this winter. I know you do what you want to do, but please keep the people of Missouri as the priority. Please vote no and not allow any such rate increases. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Lotz, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Ryan Dickey?
Hi, my name is Ryan Dickey, spelled R-Y-A-N-D-I-C-K-E-Y.
Excuse me. Mr. Dickey, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yeah.
What would you like to tell the commission?
Well, I don't have anything particularly formally prepared for this. I will try to be brief. My name is Ryan. I organize the Sunrise Movement Kansas City. Essentially, I stand, sorry.
Organized what? I'm sorry?
I'm an organizer with Sunrise Movement Kansas City. It's a local community organization.
Thank you.
Basically, I'm here to oppose this rate hike. It's more palatable, of course, to have a lower rate hike that was proposed, the 70 million or so total rate hike. That's more palatable, but I don't think it should increase whatsoever. We already know that Spire has the money. Like looking online, a brief search can help you find that Spire profited last year somewhere around 240 million, if I remember correctly. And so if you subtracted even this entire rate hike from that, Spire would still have at least 80-ish million of profit left in their pockets, which is, I think, plenty enough to take home with them. So they are capable of paying for it entirely by themselves. I also don't think the entirety of this rate hike is even necessary. I know that when you look online at executive contracts for executives at Spire, you do see that there's millions of additional compensation that executives can win if they secure a rate increase like this right here. So there are likely people in this room speaking for Spire who actually stand to directly profit from this here rate hike that they're proposing. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a great use of our money. If we're looking for ways to shave this revenue down, I think executive compensation is always something we can take money out of. I also saw when Kansas City was passing recently its climate protection and resiliency plan, not just while that plan was passing, but through the entire process, Spire employees did come to manipulate that process, try to push for weaker strategies, including that plan, not just limited to burning gas in homes to provide heat, but also electrifying the grid as a whole, removing natural gas from the electric grid. So when I hear Spire talk about in this room today saying burning gas in homes is only about 6% of emissions in the US, which 6% of the US's total emissions, that's a lot of emissions still. When they say not just that, like, that's just a small piece of it, they also came out and fought in our city for a plan that would they fought against this plan in our city that would reduce emissions from our grid and also reduce emissions from our transportation that they cited as well. So when they say, oh, it's just a small piece, they fought against the larger pieces as well, and they fought very hard. I also saw several of their executives and employees show up in council chambers to testify against that plan, where they actually stretched the truth, misrepresented what was actually included in the plan. It had to be corrected by actually my council member sitting right next to me. So when I look at that, I see the employees that they are paying coming to manipulate the politics that we use to make the best plan and the best livable city we can have. And when I see this rate hike that is going to be paying for employee compensation like that, I see Spire simply asking the ratepayers to finance their manipulation of our politics to make our home worse. That's not right. They have the money. They don't need more money. And when they do have the money, they use it for bad things. That's all I've got.
You said climate resiliency
Climate
plan?
protection and resiliency plan.
Thank you.
It was passed in August.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you.
Maureen Ansari?
Hi, sorry. It's Mehreen Ansari, spelled Mahreenansari.
Thank you. Sorry for the mispronunciation. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission this evening?
So my name is Mehreen Ansari. I am 22 years old. I'm a lifelong resident of Kansas City. I've lived in South Kansas City. I've lived in Midtown, and currently I live in Northeast KC. So I've lived all over. Although I am 22 years old, I have been paying gas bills since I was 16, assisting my family after getting my first job. I know firsthand what those late fees look like and the panic that families feel when the threat of a shutoff is looming. The commission is responsible for making sure Spire and utility companies stay true to their word and don't lie to the people to get their way. As by the testimonies by Ryan Dickey previously to me, there has been a lot that's been going on with Spire and with our city government, trying to push different things, trying to push their agendas, trying to weaken different pieces of legislation that would improve Kansas City for all Kansas Cityans. I know how hard it is paying for Spire bills personally, as for the past 8 years I've been doing it. I also work at a nonprofit called Journey to New Life, where we assist people coming out of incarceration. And we provide a lot of monetary support to people for their Spire bills. And I know what those checks look like. That's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that we have put into Spire's pockets, because there's so many people in Kansas City who can't afford the Spire bills as is. And I don't entirely remember if Ryan mentioned this, but one of the fear-mongering tactics that they used during the sessions about the Climate Protection and Resiliency Plan was that if the plan is passed, that rates would go up, that, oh, we can't raise it because then it'd make it unaffordable. And it's like they've already had this plan to like raise the rates before the conversation of like the Climate Protection and Resiliency Plan was put forward. And so it's like they were just trying to scare us out of something that they were going to do anyway. And so it feels really dishonest to say that we need to raise the rates to cover these prices, because it feels like they're going to continue saying that about anything that comes up. We might have another crazy winter storm and they'll be like, oh, well, we kind of have to raise again, even though they wouldn't have to raise it to such an extent. I mean, 12.7% for Kansas City is really extreme, especially when we have such a high rate of poverty in Kansas City. We have so many Kansas Citians who are already struggling to pay their bills right now. And so I really want to urge the commission to like hold them accountable and not allow like such a crazy rate like increase, especially after we already had one. Like, people can't handle the current rate increase that we had last year. How are they supposed to handle this one? It's really unfair.
Ms. Ansari, thank you for your comments. Raymond Forstater.
Hi, my name is Raymond Forstater, RaymondForstater.
I apologize for messing your name up as well.
I'm used to it.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
Okay, please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you. My name is Raymond Forstater. I'm a leader with Sunrise Movement KC. I want to reiterate what a lot of people have said here. Not only have a lot of people spoken up about it here, but a lot of communications I have with my neighbors. I hear a lot from people that on a month-to-month basis have to regularly choose between putting food on the table, buying meds, or keeping their heat on. You know, folks from Spire will say that there are, you know, available options for people to finance their bills. They have assistance available, but clearly that isn't sufficient based on the community members that I talk to that are regularly having to make these decisions, again, on a month-to-month basis. Mahreen just brought up, and it was brought up by Mr. Weitzel before too, that there was this most recent rate increase that went into effect in December following Winter Storm Uri that cut out the grid and jacked up the price of gas. I'd be curious and would like to know what Spire is doing to prepare for that. So in the event that that does happen again, and the way that the climate crisis is going, it looks like it's likely that it will happen again. What is the company doing to prepare for those costs not to be put back onto the customer once again? We're now seeing 2 proposed rate increases in the span of 2 years. It really concerns me that 30% on that chart there is going to financing cost and investor return. My understanding, as an investor, you're supposed to know that you're taking a risk, that the money that you're putting in might not come back. The way that this is set up, it looks like we're guaranteeing them a return on their investment, which again doesn't really, to me, seem like the idea or definition of what an investment is meant to be. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be anybody in here that's coming up in support of these rate increases, but I'd just be curious to know, like, what does it take for the Public Service Commission? What sort of public outcry against these, and how many people does it take saying that this is not affordable to overturn this rate and deny it? Because it was briefly brought up before, but the fact is, in their 2021 proxy reports, there are millions of dollars of executive bonuses that are specifically named to be towards their involvement in the Missouri rate case process. So are millions of these dollars going to be put towards executive bonuses once again? Is that how this is going to work? And if so, again, That doesn't sound like a company that's looking out for this community. Mr. Weisel mentioned the investments that Spire is putting into the community, but really what it sounds like from a lot of the people speaking is that this company is extracting wealth from this community, and that, again, I guess I'll just end on saying that I oppose this rate increase.
Mr. Forstater, thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Deborah Yates.
My name is Deborah Yates, Debrayates.
And Ms. Yates, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes. I would really just like to basically go on record and ask that the commission please vote no on the Spire rate increase. In September, I'm on an average pay plan, and last September, my monthly payments already almost doubled, and now they're asking for another increase.
Can you say that again, please?
Yes, last September, my payments almost doubled. They went from $65 a month to $120 a month. So that's almost double, and now they're asking for another increase, and that is not affordable. I'm a senior citizen on Social Security, and I'm sure there are many other people in this state that are in similar circumstances as myself. So with the ever-increasing high cost of inflation and the economic recession that we are experiencing, I can't afford this increasing cost and to heat my home and pay the other necessities of life. So I would ask that you guys say that you ensure that the Missourians receive safe, reliable utility services and just reasonable and affordable rates. And I say these rates are not affordable. So again, I ask you to vote no on the proposed rate increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yates. Elaine Artzer.
My name is Elaine Artzer, and that's E-L-A-I-N-E, last name Artzer, A-R-T-Z-E-R.
And Ms. Artzer, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes. Probably most of my comments would otherwise be redundant. You've heard from people finding...
Can you step a little closer to the microphone?
Oh,
I'm
sure.
having a little difficulty hearing.
Oh, yeah. My comments likely would be on an overall basis fairly redundant. People have expressed as a consumer how difficult, just in general, with every company under the sun that provides services to them, are asking for an increase, with this just being an additional one being added on to their plate. Sometimes, as a consumer, I feel like the adult in the room, the only one willing to sacrifice during a bad economy, while all the companies come yelling like little children who don't want anything disturbed in their world, that I am supposed to take care of it for them. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Artzer, thank you for your comments. I know everybody wants to be supportive of everybody who's speaking tonight. I appreciate that. Please bear in mind this is a local public hearing and it is a formal hearing that I'm trying to preserve the record as much as possible. So if you can hold your support until after a person has spoken, that would be preferable. Andrew Savastino.
Andrew Savastino, A-N-D-R-E-W-S-A-V-A-S-T-I-N-O. If the commission doesn't mind, as a representative of the city of Kansas City, Missouri, I'd like to invite Councilman Shields to join me at the podium here.
I have no problem with that. And would you also say and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name's Catherine Shields, Katheryn, then Shields. And I am a councilwoman here in Kansas City. I represent the 4th District at large, which means I am voted on by people throughout the city of Kansas City.
Thank you. Will you both raise your right hands to be sworn? Mr. Savastino, Ms. Shields, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing this evening is the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think I'll kick it off. First of all, just to provide a little information, as someone mentioned, the street repairs and the problems the city has had in the past with Spire, and I will say that recently they have improved and have, for the most part, been following city standards in repairing roads. But we had to reach the point of actually suspending their permits to get them to actually come to the table and listen to what needed to be done. The second thing I would refer to is in our climate action plan debate. I hope when Spire gives you all information that you are carefully considering it and weighing it and making sure that it is accurate, because they provided very, very misleading testimony to my colleagues and myself about the outcome and results of our climate action plan. They actually told some of my colleagues, actually all of my colleagues, that if we pass the climate action plan, that everyone in Kansas City, Missouri would have to stop using gas and would have to go to electric. Well, I think you all are probably more knowledgeable than I. Not only did our plan not do that, but there's a specific state law that does not allow a municipality to designate what energy source should be used by individual citizens. So they had people coming in to testify that we'd no longer be able to have barbecue in Kansas City, Missouri, because all the gas implements would be shut down. It was a very, very misleading effort on their part. And so when they come to you with supposed facts, I hope that you all look behind those facts and make sure that they're correct and that what they are telling you is accurate, because they certainly did not display that kind of honesty when they were testifying and lobbying people about our climate action plan. That is, I wanted to let you know that our council, our mayor and council, went on record through a resolution that we oppose this rate increase. And Mr. Savastino, who is our energy chief environmental officer, is probably going to provide you more specific details on what our concerns are. But as a council, I think I've been on the council off and on for a combination of 16 years, and we've never really come out against a rate increase before. But we did very strongly on this, and I hope you all will take our concerns and consider them seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shields. I have a question here for you from one of the attorneys.
Really quick, the testimony you were alluding to regarding what Spire said, is there a copy, a transcript, or recording of that somewhere?
There is certainly, there would be testimony from council people who said things like, I am opposed to this because I don't want everyone in Kansas City to have to stop using gas if they choose. You could go to the city clerk's office. If you got me a card, I would reach out to the clerk for you and ask her to send you the video of those meetings where council members expressed what had been told to them and their concerns over it.
Thank you. I'll try to get my card to you after this.
Okay.
And Ms. Bench, I think you may have stepped away from the mic for a second, but he said no further questions from Mr. Kleiser. Mr. Applington, you have a question?
No, please sit down. I can
Okay.
ask Mr. Savastino.
Okay.
Well, why don't you wait till after we get Mr. Savastino's comments?
Okay. Should I proceed?
Please.
Thank you. So as Councilman Shields mentioned,
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Could you raise that microphone?
yeah. Okay, how's that? All right. So as Councilman Shields said, in September 29th, 2022, the City Council in Kansas City, Missouri passed resolution number 220861, directing staff to bring the concerns of the city to the Missouri Public Service Commission regarding the natural gas rate filed by Spire in April of this year. The main concerns are as follows. Inflation, first, pressures have rapidly increased in the past year. High inflation tends to worsen inequality and poverty because it hits income and savings harder for poorer or middle-income households than for wealthy households. Consumer prices were up 9.1% by June of 2022, the largest increase in 40 years. These increases are making it harder for average Kansas Cityans to afford their basic needs. In addition to inflation, Kansas City has one of the biggest energy burdens in the country and has one of the top 15 cities with the worst energy burden for low-income, Black, and Latino households, as reported by ACEEE. In the most energy-burdened census tract in Kansas City, the average resident spends 20% of their income on utilities. Spire's primary rationale for filing this rate case seems to be that they want to increase their profit margin. The PSC approved a 9.3 return on equity in the last rate case, and the company is requesting a 10.5 ROE. The average return on equity for a distributed natural gas company in the United States based on an S&P Global financing is 9.33. So Kansas City acknowledges, as documented in major energy rate case decisions in the U.S. January to June 2022, that, quote, state regulatory support and the authorization of adequate returns to ensure ongoing capital attraction in the utility sector will be instrumental as the industry shifts away from fossil fuels to renewables and storage and invest in strengthening the nation's power grid against climate and other risks, unquote. However, when ruling in this case, we urge the Public Service Commission to carefully consider the risk to Kansas City residents and consumers at a time when they are already face increased rates of inflation and energy burden. Natural gas prices are expected to soar this winter, and those costs will be passed on to ratepayers without their input. The Public Service Commission and Spire need to make sure they have exhausted every other possibility before asking Kansas City residents to shoulder this additional burden. Thank you.
Quickly, because I didn't catch it in my note taking, what was your citation for one of Kansas City being one of the top energy users?
So our energy burden based on the ACEEE. So ACEEE is the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy.
Thank you. And Mr. Applington, you had a question?
Yes, just one. Is the city of Kansas City a represented party in this proceeding?
I am not for certain. I think they may have filed, but I'm not sure that the attorney has been involved in that.
Thank you.
Hold on just a second. I have a question. Are you an attorney?
I am not.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Kleiser.
I believe you referenced a decision by the city council. Decision is not the right word. What would be the proper word?
It's a resolution.
Do you have a copy of that resolution with you?
Yes, I might. Yes. Promise I'm going to get there. Okay. How about I bring it to you in a minute? Sorry about that.
That's fine. Never mind. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. Paul Webb.
Paulwebb.
And Paul Webb, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission this evening?
So I'll make this brief. I'm a business owner here in Missouri. There's been a lot of talk this evening about return on equity. And that's what I'm having trouble with. And I'm speaking directly to the Spire representatives when I say this. As a business owner, you have a monopoly. Your customers can't go elsewhere. They can choose to potentially use less. But the difficulty I have with this is that you are also expecting to have a guaranteed profit margin. I, as a business owner, can't have a guaranteed profit margin. I can lose money just as easily as I can make it. I hope that I don't. But I want to urge to the commission tonight, vote no on this. In fact, stop wasting our time. We don't want to be here. This is not what we want to be doing tonight. And I know that if you vote no, you'll probably just come back and ask us again. Please stop this. We don't want rate increases. In fact, if you became insolvent as the public good, I would love for the state of Missouri to take ownership of those pipes that you think you can make profit off of. So, thank you.
Okay, I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Webb, for your comments.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And you'll forgive me, I'm having a little difficulty reading this. Brandon Caney?
Brandon Canoy. I apologize, my handwriting is small.
Can you say that again, please?
Brandon Canoy.
Canoy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
BRANDONKANOY.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
So I am testifying against the rate increase for Spire Energy due to the SEC report for Q3 of 2022.
Can you step a little closer to the mic? I had a hard time hearing that.
Yes. Testifying against the rate increase for Spire Energy due to their SEC report for Q3 of 2022. As it shows, for the 9 months ended June 30 of 2022, Spire Gas reported a net economic earnings of $240.6 million, and that is pulled from Spire Report's third quarter results on their website, investors.spireenergy.com. I think that's a little more than what they're asking us to cover, so it seems like their bank account should cover this cost. And that's the end of my statement.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
And this is another one I'm having difficulty reading. Reese Benzinger?
Yeah, Benzinger is correct.
I'm sorry?
Benzinger is correct.
Benzinger is correct, okay.
My name is Reese Benzinger, REESE BENTZINGER. I'm a Missourian and a renter.
Would you raise your right hand
Oh,
and
yes.
be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I swear. So I'm a Missourian, I'm a renter, and I'm someone who believes that this rent increase will be catastrophic for already struggling renters. Currently, I'm searching for a new apartment. When I out on
Hold on just a second, everyone. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Let's see if we can get the mic consistent.
Check, check.
Thank you.
Mr. Applington, if you have a question, you have to just flag me. We'll get you a mic.
Ma'am, if you'll go back to,
Will
I'm
be
searching for
catastrophic?
a new apartment.
Okay.
Okay. So currently, I'm searching for a new apartment. When I plug in my budget on apartments.com, I see a map full of pinpoints turn into a few small dots. Other rising costs, including utilities, further narrow my search. Nearly every apartment I've toured has had some kind of issue, including bed bugs, security, and installation with plastic sheets. I don't think renters should be asked to trade their safety for affordability. I've come here because I know I'm not the only one finding safe and affordable housing. Right now, gas prices are so high that other renters have sweltered in 102-degree weather and have frozen in negative temperatures. If this price increase passes, it will make more renters suffer as a result. Kansas City has an affordability problem. Be a part of the solution and reject this proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kevin Grooms.
Kevin Grooms, KEVINGROOMS.
And Mr. Grooms, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
I'm a Kansas City resident. My name's Kevin Grooms. I'm also the chair for the Missouri chapter of the Sierra Club. So I do that in a volunteer position.
I'm going to stop you for just a second. I apologize. Is the Sierra Club an intervener in this case?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Aplington.
I just want to say that from a personal standpoint, I make trade-offs in my life. One trade-off I've made was from working a tip job as a server and pay that varied a lot week to week to my recent entry into a salaried job in a trade I'm proud to work in. So my wage potential went down somewhat, but I can budget better. And thanks to that regular pay, I was just recently able to catch up with my energy bills after the pandemic limited my income, combined with the rising utility rates recently. And volunteering for the Sierra Club represents a trade-off too, because my job gives me the work-life balance I need to give some of my time to environmental justice, which I consider a civic good. So I feel I can only make so much money at this time, all while prices for everything is going up. So I'm concerned I'm going to fall behind again. And I don't even live on as thin a margin as many people in my community. But I save money as I can, for example, by living without a car. And I live here in Midtown, in the Union Hill neighborhood, in a pretty low rent apartment. But again, as the person from Operation Breakthrough mentioned, I pay that low rent because it's a very inefficient home. So I pay much higher rates for utilities than I should be, which is another trade-off I have to make. So to me personally, and to our organization with Sierra Club, this represents a reckless rate hike for upgrades we don't need. And what folks need right now is stability in their cost of living. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grooms. Michael Wolf. Would you please say and spell your name for the record?
Yeah, that's Michael Wolf, Michael, space WOLFE.
And wait just a second while they adjust the mic.
Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do. My name is Michael Wolf. I'm a leader with Sunrise Movement Kansas City and a resident of Kansas City, Missouri. And I live in one of the last affordable apartments in gentrifying Midtown. And what I somehow don't manage to pay in rent, I do pay in utilities because my landlord has not, like, ever, to my knowledge, replaced my windows. So as someone making $16 an hour, this rate increase would be a pretty disastrous burden upon me. Spire claims to care about customers and affordability, but during the Q&A before this, the reps couldn't give an answer on how many customers it has disconnected from its service due to an inability to pay, nor could they say how many customers are on a payment plan. To my knowledge, Spire is also claiming a need to increase rates to pay for employee costs. And in a December 23rd, 2021 article in St. Louis Today, entitled "Spire CEO Sitherwood Nets Pay Raise Amid Year of Record Earnings Growth," it reads, and I quote, "Spire President and CEO Suzanne Sitherwood 61, was compensated almost $5.6 million over the last fiscal year, a 26% raise over her $4.4 million in pay a year prior, according to the new Securities and Exchange Commission's filings from the St. Louis-based natural gas utility. Her pay last year was 48 times greater than that of Spire's median employee," end quote. Spire also maintains that this rate increase does not cover costs for lobbying or campaign contributions, and this may be legally true on paper, but time and again, Spire has lied about fossil gas as a clean fuel, as you've heard in testimony from elected city officials here. And this is even though fossil gas, not natural gas, fossil gas, it's a fossil fuel, is linked to asthma, lung cancer, and the climate crisis. Congress literally just passed a law regulating methane, which is what makes up the natural gas that Spire provides. You know, they passed a law regulating that as a greenhouse gas. And during the Q&A, again, reps seem focused on carbon, not methane. So while Spire may not be legally allowed to ask for rate increases for those political costs, it's pretty clear they're using money to spread lies. So we have a company that lies with some of its money, clearly doesn't seem to be prioritizing ratepayers enough to have statistics ready at a public hearing, and they seem to be giving lots of money to their executives. So the picture doesn't really seem to add up to me as to why this rate increase is necessary. So you all should oppose this rate increase, and the executives of Spire should probably dig into their deep pockets where they already have a ton of money to make up for anything they would want to pass on to consumers, because why are we paying for this? Thank you.
Mr. Wolf, thank you for your comments. And we've already heard from Ms. Shields. Christian Moss. And Mr. Moss, I believe I remember you from the WebEx public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And would you please state and spell your name again for the record?
Christian Moss. It's CHRISTIAN, last name Moss, MOSS.
And I'm going to swear you in again.
Thank you very much.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
All right, so my name is Christian Moss, and I lived for 30 years in California. I just actually made it out to Missouri last year, where I purchased my first home, and that was to escape all of the type of junk that's going on in California. Trust me, you guys do not want California coming here, but that's exactly what you got going on. Okay, I was paying bills over there that are less than the bill here from Spire, and when I first looked at it, I thought I was reading like R.L. Stein's Goosebumps when I first saw what my rate was going to be. When I told my parents back home, they didn't even literally believe me. They didn't believe what I was paying for my bill because it's so disgustingly high for just a small one-person home. You know, as far as stats, I'm going to keep it logical. I'm going to keep it accurate. We can just look at the FY20 results. This is taken straight from investors.spireenergy.com. But you know, I think this is important to look at because this is what it's all about. It's about the investors. It's about making money. So let's look here. For fiscal 2020, because it's Spire speaking, we reported consolidated net income of 88.6 million. But now we move to FY21. For fiscal 21, we reported consolidated net income of 271 million. Okay, and then moving on to FY22, we reported for the first 6 months of fiscal 2022, we reported consolidated net income of $229 million. It makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Moving on here, this is probably the most damning thing that everybody in this room should know about, because the fact that this is for customers or about customers is a bold-faced lie. I say that because of this quote. We remain confident in our long-term ability to grow NEE per share 5 to 7%, given our growth strategy, expectations of reasonable regulatory outcomes, and planned capital investment in infrastructure upgrades, innovation, and new business. Our targeted capital investment for the 5-year period through fiscal 2026 remains $3.1 billion. And this level of investment is anticipated to drive 7 to 8% rate-based growth for our utilities. So there you have it. This is what it's about. It's not going to stop. This is one of many, many increases. I've been listening to everybody else and the ones that have gone on probably before I even got here. And now that I'm here, I'm already seeing an increase. And with this outlook to raise it, they already have it all planned through 2026 and beyond. You know, this is not going to stop. This is just one of many increases, and I am vehemently opposed to it, and I believe everybody else should be as well. And it's just disgusting that 100% of people could show up to oppose something, and they just want to push it through. They just want to push it through. And I'm telling you, if you want to see corruption in government, then look no further than California. It's coming right here. It's coming right here because of this. That's why, sir. That's what I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Those are all the people that we had signed up to speak this evening. Is there anybody that at this point would like to offer comments that was unable to sign up but wanted to tell the commission their thoughts? Yes, please come up to the microphone. And bear with me just a moment. I'm going to catch up my notes. Yes, would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Layla Zaidi, Laela. Last name Zaidi, Zaidi.
And Ms. Zaidi, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
Like I said, my name is Layla. I'm a leader with Sunrise Movement Kansas City. We are just one part of a national movement of young people who are alongside our communities wanting a safe, livable, and accessible future. And that includes one in which every youth and family can live without the fear of a rate increase of utility bills that put them out of their home and that make life harder. And I can tell you in the room today, you've heard that workers, tenants, the elderly and young people, and so many more, for these groups of people, it's getting harder to live out here. It's getting harder to pay our bills, to save for a future. It's getting harder to put food on the table. And it is at this time that Spire is now asking for us to pay more money. And as I can say, as an organizer in this city, there's very few things sometimes that can bring everyone together on an issue as complicated as this. But you've seen today, the people in this community are united in saying that corporate greed cannot stand. The people in this room are united in telling you that this corporation has lied to us, has divided our community, has pitted us tenant versus workers, young people, versus our elders, it's not right. And this happened during the Climate Protection and Resiliency Plan hearings that happened, one in which the young people in this room, alongside so many in the community, really came out to testify at. And as our councilwoman said, Spire has united business interests in this city against the working class people, the young people, and the elderly. And it's unfair and it's not right. And you as regulators have the opportunity in front of you today to hold them accountable to the views in this room. That's your job. And as young people, we don't have any money. We don't have any influence in this process, except to show up here and ask for you to do the right thing. That's the only influence we can do, is to ask you to do the right thing and to stand up for us, for the people in this room, and for the people who are not here. So I'm respectfully asking that you please reject this rate increase and bring some accountability to a company that has for too long gotten away with lies.
Thank you, Ms. Sadie. Is there anyone else who wanted to offer comments at this time? Yes, sir. Come on up. Would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Sean Egan, S-E-A-N, E-A-G-A-N.
And Mr. Egan, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission this evening?
Sir, could you raise the microphone,
Yep.
please?
Is this good? Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just kind of want to mirror some of the comments others have said regarding, as Congresswoman Shields said before about propagating sort of misinformation and drawing on a April 21, 2021, or no, I think it was this year, Intercept article about the STL pipeline, also a Spire project. Spire got in front of this and put out news articles, essentially propaganda, describing how with a severe winter on the outlook, they're essentially threatening the customers, the forced customers of Spire Energy in St. Louis, fear-mongering. And for a company that is essentially a monopoly, it seems pretty low. But again, since you're an investor-owned monopoly, it sort of tracks, right? And I think it makes sense to think about what it means to have an investor-owned monopoly company who gets a seat at the table annually, apparently, to just ask for more money. And I think the gentleman from California maybe said it, or maybe it was somebody else. A lot of people have said great things tonight. But the increase in executive pay rate is insane. And the bottom line here is profit. But this is supposed to be a public utility, or at least a utility, because the interests of the provider are certainly not public. I mean, when you have a group that's lobbying for legislation against city initiatives, obviously they're pitted against the community itself by the nature of a profit motive. And not to mention the environment. It doesn't matter. They would rather see gas live forever, which scientifically it cannot. Don't do it. That's all.
Hang on just a second. Forgive my lack of knowledge here. You said Intercept article?
It's The Intercept. It's a news publication.
And where's that news publication out of?
The internet.
Okay.
It was April 27th, I think 21 or 22, but you should be able to find it fairly easily.
Okay.
I could give you the printed out version of it if you'd like.
If you would like to make that a hearing exhibit, I would be happy to take it.
I would.
And I'll note for the court reporter, I'm going to call this Local Public Hearing Commission Exhibit 1. Yes, sir, Mr. Kleiser? I made that one for that hearing. This is another hearing, so if you would prefer me to make it two, I will, but since these are going to be separate transcripts.
I'm not hearing this.
I'm sorry, a lot of that was off. Let's go ahead and make this, I'm going to call this Intercept Article Commission a Local Public Hearing Exhibit number 1. And we don't usually give exhibits to the court reporters, so this will be attached to the transcript afterwards. And thank you for your comments, Mr. Egan. Is there anybody else who wanted to offer comments this evening? Yes, please come up.
Hello, my name is Kiera, K-I.
And I'm going to ask you to speak up just a little. I'm having difficulty hearing.
My name is Kiera, K-I-A-R-A. Last name Cole, C-O-L-E.
And would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this local public hearing is the truth?
Yes, Commissioner.
And what would you like to tell the commission?
I wasn't going to say anything. I don't have any printed off documents, or I don't know how much the CEOs make of the company. So the only thing I can offer today is my own personal testimony. The families that they're talking about, that's me. I have 4 children. I'm a single mother. I've worked for the state of Missouri, and I still barely make enough to pay my bills every month. I've been on a payment plan that this young lady in the red is talking about, and I haven't seen a $35 extra credit to my account, which again, it doesn't help me. If I'm on a payment plan, then I still have to pay that extra money. I was just on one last month. So I have to pay that money, and then I also have to pay the balance due to this month as well, including my bill, to make that payment plan valid. If you go through with this, I'm not on Section 8. I make too much for food stamps. I gotta put gas in my car, and we can barely eat. So even if you approve $1 more, how am I supposed to afford that? I'm doing the best that I can. I've been living on my own and working since I was 16. I'm 37. And I do the best that I can for my children. We have to buy clothes, shoes, food, and everything else. So please, I am begging you, find it in your heart, do not do this. Do not approve this increase. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. Now, at this time, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. The commission appreciates you offering comments. I'm going to tell you right now, if you have additional comments, or if people you know were unable to show up tonight and would like to make written comments, you can make written comments by contacting the Office of the Public Counsel, that's this gentleman at the table here, or by using the email address pscinfo@psc.mo.gov. Or you can go to the Public Service Commission's webpage, and you'll see a link to leave comments. If you do that, please reference the case number so we know which case it is you are talking about. And the case number for this case is GR-2022-0179. Would either of the commissioners like to make any closing comments?
Sure. Thank you. While I can't comment on the case in front of us, I can say thank you for coming out tonight. I can tell you that political activity takes many forms. Tonight you've engaged in a very important one, which is sharing your opinions with those who have the ability to vote on this regulation. I want to thank everybody for being concise and being direct. Especially want to commend the young people who came out tonight. I thought that you were very focused on your message, and it was appreciated. And you guys all have very bright futures in front of you and making a difference in our state and our country. So thank you very much for being here this evening.
Yes, I too would like to thank everyone for coming out and giving their testimony and their comments this evening. So thank you.
And for the record, that was Commissioners Holzman and Kolkmeyer, respectively. At this time, I'm going to ask the parties if there's anything further the commission needs to take up this evening, starting with Spire.
Just for your honor, there is a GO docket that's open that bears on some of the comments that were made tonight, so we will supplement with you that case number after the hearing, if you don't mind.
Okay, do you want to give me that case number now?
I don't have it, but I'll give it to you right after the hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then for everybody else, I would just like to echo the comments from the commissioners. It's not all the time that we get a chance to come out and interact with our customers, be in the communities that we serve. We really appreciate the opportunity to hear from you, to understand your concerns, and that helps us be better and serve you better. And so I would just say thank you very much.
Anything from the commission staff?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Office of the Public Counsel?
Would the gentleman from the council, would you like to offer the resolution as a exhibit? Would the commission entertain it, or is that too late?
It's not too late. Do you have it on you? And this is Resolution 220861. Okay. I'm going to call this Local Public Hearing Commission Exhibit 2, and description is Kansas City Resolution 220861, and that will be attached to the transcript.
I had nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Kleiser. Okay, again, I can't say this enough. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. It's very important that the commission gets to hear from the public. Outside of the evidentiary hearing where the parties will be offering evidence, this is the only chance we get to hear from non-parties. So thank you. And with that in mind, this hearing is now adjourned. Please have a good evening and get home safely. And we're off.